We are continuing to monitor the race to replace Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, and today is the deadline for any voter to request a recount in the race, which we could see considering the two second-place candidates ended up in a dead tie. We know former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo is going to November's contest, but Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian and Assemblymember Evan Lowe both finished the primary with the exact same number of votes. If the two candidates are satisfied with the results, they will compete in a three-way race for the congressional seat. If not, they or any voter can request a recount, but whomever does so has to pay for it. And of course, there's no sure bet that the numbers would end up in either candidate's favor. In San Francisco, the mayor's race just got a little bit more crowded. Supervisor Aaron Peskin has thrown his hat into the ring.
And while I thankfully don't have any billionaires on my side, I have you. And I ask you to join with me, to fight with me, to save our city without sacrificing our values.
Peskin is the president of the board and one of the longest-serving politicians in the city's history. He is the sole progressive candidate running against Mayor London Breed and several moderate challengers. But Peskin says he doesn't see the race that way. He told our Wilson Walker he has another word on his mind.
I think people know my work on behalf of neighborhoods of San Francisco. I want to be a neighborhood mayor that honors every neighborhood in San Francisco.
Neighborhoods, the word of the day as Supervisor Aaron Peskin made his run for mayor official. But this is not a new keyword. It's the same word we heard back when we were asking whether or not he would join the race.
You know, I started out as a neighborhood guy. I started out as a neighborhood activist in North Beach.
So let's unpack the word neighborhoods a little bit. Well, on one level, if you're running for mayor, neighborhoods are a nice way to think about building a coalition, right? Peskin has a quarter-century of experience here in North Beach, and if you want to build out from there, how about the next neighborhood over?
And the reason I am launching this campaign in Portsmouth Square is because of my deep and abiding connections with the Chinese community of San Francisco.
Chinatown, more than a neighborhood in this respect, it's the core of the city's Asian population, a third of the vote in San Francisco. There is a reason that other candidates have made major announcements in this very plaza. Now, recent years have shown the strength of this voting constituency, largely in support of moderate causes, but as political scientists will tell you, voters do not always vote by label.
We tend to assume they will line up the progressives or line up the moderates and vote consistently, and they typically don't do that.
So Peskin's roots in Chinatown could act as a kind of buffer against one political vulnerability as the progressive candidate.
Joe-san.
And then there is what it means to be progressive, and we have already seen a preview of this specifically in relation to recent battles over housing and zoning. Have a listen to the mayor in her recent State of the City address.
Building homes and adding treatment beds is progressive.
Peskin would argue that the need for housing must also be balanced against something else.
I think it's also about sticking up for the neighborhoods of San Francisco.
So the city's race for mayor begins to take shape amid a lot of talk about shifting politics in San Francisco.
Thank you all for coming this morning. I don't think that this is about progressive or moderates. This is about taking care of San Francisco and being a mayor who knows how.
So much discussion and opining about the potential Peskin run for so long. At the signing of the paperwork, the announcement, it all feels a little bit like a fait accompli, but now the campaign really begins, and this doesn't mean that the field is set. Anyone thinking about running for mayor in San Francisco can still come down to the registrar's office and sign up. The deadline for that is in June.
So Mayor Breed and Peskin will be facing off against some high-profile and well-funded moderate candidates. They include venture capitalist Mark Farrell, who served as interim mayor for 6 months after the death of Mayor Ed Lee in 2017. Daniel Lurie, the founder of an anti-poverty nonprofit and heir to Levi Strauss, and Peskin's fellow supervisor, Asha Safai.
And I will finally establish citywide community policing that has been long promised but never realized, with foot patrols and community ambassadors in every neighborhood. I have worked a quarter of a century with the incredible officers on the beat in Central Station, and I know firsthand how effective community policing can be. But while we focus on crime in the streets, we must also address criminality and corruption in our city government. Every crime of corruption is a crime against taxpayers, a crime against city services, a crime against the public trust. I am proud to have fought bribery, embezzlement, and fraud in city government my entire career. As mayor, I will establish a new tool for fighting corruption and cleaning up City Hall, an inspector general under the controller with the power of subpoena and investigation. Homelessness is another place we need to come together and heal this city. To address homelessness, we have to first admit the truth. Our crisis of homelessness doesn't start at the bottom, out on the streets. It starts at the top with a lack of leadership. Hundreds of supportive housing units lay vacant, millions of dollars wasted, not enough coordination, not enough accountability. It's not leadership to keep finding other people to blame for homelessness. They blame compassion. They blame nonprofits. They blame progressives. Then they blame the judges. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the mayor. My approach to homelessness will be based on 4 pillars: prevention, shelter, treatment, and housing. Prevention and shelter are critical. We often hear that substance abuse and mental health cause homelessness, but just as often, these problems only become acute after people lose their homes and are forced out onto our streets. By keeping people housed, we can stop the downward spiral before it happens. We showed during the pandemic that rent relief and eviction protections keep at-risk individuals safely in their homes. Yet as we speak, millions of dollars that could be spent on this effort are not being used. I will change that. And we must also protect, strengthen, and expand rent control. Rent control is a lifeline. It stops unfair evictions and limits rent increases. It helps those at risk of homelessness stay in their homes. And it makes the city affordable to poets, artists, musicians, writers, and dreamers. To students and hotel workers, to immigrants and struggling families, to teachers and muni operators and the people who work in the services and tourism sectors that are so important to our city. And we have a chance to expand rent control across California this November by voting to eliminate the Costa-Hawkins Act. If it is successful, as mayor, I will immediately expand rent control to the 40% of San Francisco tenants who do not benefit from it today because of Costa-Hawkins. Because every tenant deserves the same protection. And I will work to outlaw the demolition of rent-controlled housing unless it is replaced with new rent-control housing. As supervisor, I showed that we can expand our shelter capacity. We brought the first transitional age youth shelter in the city right here to District 3. We acquired hundreds and hundreds of units of permanent supportive housing. As mayor, I will expand our shelter capacity by at least 2,000 additional shelter beds. We currently have shelter beds for less than half of our homeless population on our streets. New York, by contrast, has shelter beds for 85%. Without shelter beds, the goal of clearing tent encampments is performative cruelty and an empty promise. If there's no place for people to shelter, they will just keep coming back. And with shelter comes the opportunity for treatment. We must dramatically expand the number of treatment beds and staffing for substance abuse and behavioral health. I know and I have seen that there are people on our streets who do require encouragement.
No Aaron Peskin in my backyard. Let's hear it. No Aaron Peskin in my backyard. In my backyard. No Aaron Peskin to Nepal. Go back to Nepal, Aaron Peskin. And your first class tickets to Nepal. How do you guys feel about Aaron Peskin? Man, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. I made $20,000 last year as an artist. I'm an artist. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. That's a San Francisco native. I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm an artist. No way. Racist old man. Racist white man. Racist white man. No tech bros here. Shame on you. 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 All hail Emperor Peskin. Bow down. Shame on you. 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 All hail Emperor Peskin. Shame on you. You are a minority group. Your nonprofit is funded. You are part of the homeless. Out of the palm of his hand. All hail Emperor Aaron Peskin, the godson of San Francisco, the tallest man to ever live, the biggest, the baddest, the greatest, and the tallest. Aaron Peskin, Emperor Aaron Peskin.
Anybody but Aaron!
Get on your knees for Aaron Peskin, King of San Francisco. The God
Anybody but
Aaron
Aaron! Let's hear it, San Francisco!
Emperor God King of
Anybody
San
but Aaron!
Francisco. The largest and tallest man I've ever witnessed.
Anybody but Peskin!
Anybody but Peskin.
Anybody but Peskin! Anybody but Peskin!
係就座長者，舉高啲，係舉高啲，一齊講配絲金，一定得，配絲金，一定得，配絲金，Who do we need? Who do we need? Who do we need? Who do we need? Louder. Who do we need? Who do we need? I say Mayor, you say Aaron. Mayor.